Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Oregon City. We have reached the end of the 2026 Oregon recruiting trail, and I'm here to break down every single signee in the Ducks class. A special, although delayed, early signing period edition of TSOW starts right now.
This place has everything. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
That performance deserves a holy wallawa.
It's a feeling you cannot explain.
This place is louder than any other venue in the Big Ten.
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon!
And welcome to that show out west. For that class out west, I'm Ted LaRue. Wow. What else can you say on a day like this? Okay, let's dive into this iconic signing class that is going to be coming to Eugene. There was a little bit of back and forth. We weren't quite sure when Oregon really ramped it up for Chris Henry Jr. what was going to happen to Jalen Lott. 5-star receiver, 6', 170, Panther Creek High School in Frisco, Texas. Now, he had his ceremony. He's flashing the O. He's got the green and yellow colors. He's got everything. He's got the swag going, right? But then he didn't submit his paperwork. And, you know, there were rumors that kind of went out there. Is it going to be a one or the other type of deal? Texas getting in there, USC getting in there. But eventually, on Thursday night, he submits his paperwork, and he's officially an Oregon Duck. Maybe some NIL negotiations going on out there. Maybe we'll never know. But when we look at Jalen Lott, I mean, he has been rocketing up recruiting boards. Like, he was a solid, in the 70s and the 80s and kind of, that high 4-star type of prospect. But this past year on the field, he had an amazing year. And people, I think, really saw the type of talent. When you look at Jalen, it's just the athleticism. It's the electricity. It's the freaking twitch for days. I mean, he won the Texas 4A long jump state title as a sophomore. I mean, a 10-9, 100-yard dash, and the skills in track and field, like when you long jump, when you hurdle, which he did, when you triple jump, you need to kind of contort your body in the air, and you can see that, and it translates certainly to the football field. Absolutely elite breakaway speed. You give this guy a crease, you give him an opportunity, he's going to take it to the house. He's going to outrun everybody. Big time deep threat. A lot of his tape is just like, Jalen, just run. We're going to throw it to you, and it's going to be a touchdown every time. I mean, that's just what it's going to be. Elite speed and athleticism is something that can certainly get him on the field right away. And we got to talk about somebody that, you may have forgotten about. And that's Gatlin Bair. Now, when you talk about speed, white boy can fly. Let me put it that way. 6'1", 195 out of Burley High School in Burley, Idaho from the class of 2023, or was it class of 2024? It was a couple of years ago. He's been on a 2-year Mormon mission. More on that in just a minute. And when we're talking about speed, we're talking about a 10.53 and a 10.56 at the USA Track and Field Region 11 Junior Championships in 2022. I mean, that was 4 years ago. He ran a 10.15 in 2023, tying the Idaho state record. They got some fast boys out there in Idaho. A 4.36 40 time, a 42-inch vertical. When he gets onto the football field, I think one thing that really stands out to me, the entire route tree is available to him. Extremely explosive, whether it's an inside release, whether it's an outside release, kind of getting that separation right off the line of scrimmage, very calculated. And when he gets into his breaks, whether it's an in-breaking route or an out-breaking route, bam, he can just get there right away. It's very, very quick to be able to get open off of some of those breaks. I mean, with that insane vertical leap, he can high point the football as good as anybody. Now, you can take all of these skills, and all of these skills are wonderful, and I love every single one of these skills, but when you take 2 years off, where is he with these skills? Is he still a sub 4.40? Does he still have that explosiveness off the line of scrimmage that I was talking about? That's, I think, the big question with Gatlin. If Gatlin comes in here And he has the same type of skills. I mean, the skills don't go anywhere, but maybe when you don't work on them every day, maybe they're not as refined or something like that. We just don't know. We just don't know. If he's at this level like he was on his high school tape, he's another guy that could find the field. He is another guy that could certainly be in that category. I was always saying, I'm like, as long as Gatlin Bair finds his way into campus, I feel really good about what Oregon's going to have at wide receiver. You know, when there were maybe some uncertainties maybe during this cycle. But Gatlin's as good as it gets. And I want to cover the remaining 5 stars in this class before I jump down to the rest of the class. And continuing with pass catchers, I believe, is a very smooth transition. So Oregon has been putting out social media graphics, videos, animations about the lab. And there are so many players that were built in a lab. Kendre Harrison might be the ultimate player in this class that is a genetically modified hybrid like you would have seen in Jurassic World. I don't know what they're cooking up in that lab. They're cooking up Kendre Harrison. 6'6", 250-pound human beings are not normally this athletic. Reidsville High School in Reidsville, North Carolina, a consensus 5-star and the consensus number 1 tight end in this class, top 20 player according to the Rivals Industry and the 24/7 composite. Now, he's got a very similar size to current Oregon tight end Jamari Johnson. Here's the thing. He takes that level of athleticism to just another type of level. He's also a basketball signee for Dana Altman. So he's going to try to double sport it while he's in Oregon. That should tell you something about his about a different kind of athleticism, like Antonio Gates. What did he play 2 sports, I think, when he was in college as well? You know, maybe cut from the same cloth as far as that is concerned. That should tell you something about going up and getting the football, going up and getting a rebound. I mean, like we said with Chris Henry Jr., those 50-50 balls, those jump ball situations, they turn into 70-30s. They turn into 80-20s when a guy like Kendre Harrison is going up there and getting the ball. Now, his high school lined him up in the slot a lot, like we've seen from Kenyon Sadiq, especially the last couple of games for Oregon. Now, he doesn't possess the same like lateral quickness that Sadiq might have, but when you factor in his increased size, he presents just it's an impossible matchup for a high schooler on defense. Let me just put it that way. But just like when he's matched up and when he's going to be matched up at the college level, it's very difficult to be able to contend with this guy. What have we been saying with Sadiq, right? Too fast for a linebacker, too big for a smaller defensive back, things like that. And Kendre Harrison kind of, at least from the size point of view, kind of takes it to another level, doesn't he? I mean, he's just drives people into the ground from a blocking standpoint. I talked about the jump ball skills before. That certainly flashes on his tape. He's got another gear he shifts into when he kind of gets the ball and he's in open space. I mean, he's like that downhill runner, like we've seen Jordan Davison this year. It's like, once he gets past that first level, it's just like driving a Corvette down the side of the Wallowas right now. Down the side of Mount Hood. That's what it's like. When he gets that forward momentum, he can stiff arm a guy out of the way, he can truck a guy, and he can run past some defenders out there as well. Like, he can play right away. He is going to be on the 2 deep at the tight end position, along with Jamari Johnson next year. That's how talented he is. I feel very confident that that's going to be the case with one Kendre Harrison. He's so unique. He's such a unicorn. The tight end lineage that was started with Terrence Ferguson, that's continued with Kenyon Sadiq, that goes to Kendre Harrison. New tight end it might take a little bit before we get to that point, but at least as of late, Oregon is recruiting, developing, and manufacturing elite level tight ends. Now, when you talk about unique, let's talk about the size, the strength, the Big Ten beef on this offensive line, and the best offensive lineman in this class. We'll talk more about Big Ten beef from this group in just a minute, but it all starts with Immanuel Iheanacho, offensive tackle, 6'7", 345 pounds, out of Georgetown Prep in Baltimore, Maryland. He's a consensus top 20 overall player, one of the best offensive tackles in a class full of fantastic offensive tackles. Oregon pursued Jackson Cantwell. Didn't turn out that way. It didn't turn out well for him, obviously. He went to Miami. Cody Green was originally committed to Oregon. He went to Washington. They were talking with Kelvin Obot for a while. Immanuel Iheanacho is right in that group. It was a great class to go out and get an offensive tackle. At the top of this class, there were some really good ones. His frame, I talked about it before, it's his frame and his strength. It's ready for Big Ten football right now. When you talk about that upper body strength, it's something that you would naturally expect from someone with that aforementioned frame. Very explosive with contact. When he makes contact with you, it's like that grizzly bear. When he's got you in your grasp, you're not getting away. Like when you say, hey, when a bear's kind of got you, you just got to play dead, and then maybe he'll let you go. And it's the same type of deal here with Iheanacho. I mean, his arms and shoulders showcase that elite strength. When I talk about engaging, you're not getting away. Those are the facts of life. Right there. I mean, his tape is like he's playing with food. He's just tossing people to the side and playing. It's not a challenge on his tape for Iheanacho. He's very much an attacker in pass protection. So he's going at somebody because there aren't a lot of like elite speed rushers in the state of Maryland, outside Zion Ely, of course, but he wasn't on that tape for what I was able to see. But that's, I think, the thing. When you're at that size, there's not a lot of film of him trying to quickly getting to that 45-degree angle, getting back, and being able to kind of get the advantage and get the correct angle on a great pass rusher. When you're at this type of size, when you're this big, kind of that speed and quickness to be able to get back there is something that you want to find out. I'm really curious to see his first time in practice, how he's going to match up with some of these great pass rushers that Oregon has on their roster right now. I would probably say if he is going to play offensive tackle, because there is some position versatility, I believe, with Nacho. I think there is a world where maybe he could move inside the guard, at least for a little bit. If he is playing tackle, though, he'll probably need to trim down a little bit. He's a stud offensive tackle. Right, he's another Josh Connerly. I think that they were able to recruit, and with the right coaching with Lalik Terry, he's gonna be all conference, possibly all American. I think when all is said and done. Let's move to the defensive side of the football. This is one of my favorite signees of this class, Jett Washington. We're talking about unique body frames and skill sets. How about playing the safety position? 6'5", 205 pounds, out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, here's the thing about Jett. Rivals and 247 are kind of different on Mr. Washington. 24/7 loves him. He's the number one safety in the country, according to them, and the number 22 overall player. But the last two editions of the Rivals 300, Jett has maybe been dropping down a little bit, 114th overall, and the number 10 safety. Those aren't numbers I agree with. Let me just say that. I don't know if maybe Rivals view him as like something other than a safety. Like, he can play a lot of different positions. I really view that. Think of Jett as like a transformer edition of Kingston Lopa. Kingston Lopa's 6'5". We saw how he covered Tyler Warren in the Big Ten championship game last year. Like, he's a good player. But, you look at Jett, yeah, he's a 6'5" player. Yeah, he's a safety. Yeah, he's all that. But he kind of undergoes this transformation, and he is just a bigger and badder version of that. He's a unicorn back there. We talk about Kendre Harrison being a unicorn. Jett Washington is extremely unique. I mean, he can cover big bodies, but he can do so much more than that, I think, with his size. When I watch Jett, it's the elite ball skills for me. I mean, there's some plays where if you didn't know better, you would think Jett was the wide receiver on a given play. You can't tell whether he's on offense or defense. He has a background as a wide receiver. He has a background as a basketball player. So these type of skill sets makes sense for somebody like Jett. I mean, just elite speed, reading the play. He hits like a linebacker, just gets shot out of a cannon. When he gets his eyes on the target, beep, 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 target acquired, boom. Like, it's just, that's what it is for Jett. And he hits like a freaking maniac out there. Very aggressive. I'm really curious when he comes to the college level, is he going to be like, oh, dude, we got to tone this down a little bit because, hey, if you're seeing that first read and you're shooting it and that's not the correct read, maybe that's something that needs to get fixed. But when you talk about him in pass coverage, just with his strides, with his length, the range is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Such a fun player to watch on film, Washington is. All right, last 5-star, and this is a good one. They call him Tank for a reason. Anthony Tank Jones coming off the edge, 6'3", 245 out of St. Paul's Episcopal in Mobile, Alabama. Going down to Alabama yet again, Dan Lanning is, and getting one of the best players out of that state. 315 pounds on the bench press, 315 pounds on the clean. And when you hear those numbers, and then what you watch and what he's able to do on film, it's obvious the power that Tank is able to play with. Power and motor are two big building blocks to what makes Tank Jones great. Like when he's in there rushing the passer, he's able to punch, get his arms out, and then you can see, kind of like with Nacho, what I said before, the shoulders, the forearms, the strength to just be able to push and use that strength to be able to bull rush. And that upper body is extremely well developed, I think, right now. But he combines his power with a really good mixture of agility and swims and different rips. He can engage and shed. He is shredded, but he can shed blocks really, really quickly as well. I mean, he can get to like 260, 265 by next fall. He could be really dangerous and give maybe some of these veteran players on this Oregon team a run for their money. My gut is maybe telling me his second year in this Oregon program is going to be the year where he really shoots off like a rocket. But, man, a unique blend of power and speed coming off the edge for Mr. Jones. And when we talk about 5-stars, Oregon was swinging a big old stick to land a 5-star quarterback earlier in the cycle. What a whirlwind, what a crazy cycle it was recruiting signal callers for this Ducks coaching staff. You go back to the spring, man, the number one quarterback in the country, Mr. Jared Curtis out of Nashville, Tennessee. He was committed to Georgia. Decommitment opens it up, allows Dan Lanning and the Ducks to really be a major player. It was a Georgia and Oregon battle down the stretch. He comes out to the West Coast. He visits. Oregon was feeling really good at points in time with Jared that they could finish the job and get a commitment. But the commitment date gets delayed, it gets pushed back, and that allows Georgia time to finalize the deal. They get the recommitment at that point in time. But as we know, Jared flipped to Vanderbilt shortly before signing day. Now, following the recommitment at the time to Georgia for Jared, immediately after, predictions came in from industry experts for Ryder Lyons to end up at Oregon. A high 4-star, low 5-star quarterback from Folsom, California. But as we got closer to that commitment date for old Ryder during the summer, steam, smoke, whatever it was, it certainly started to pick up for BYU, and he eventually committed and signed with the Cougars. And all of a sudden, in early summertime, Oregon's kind of looking around, is like, hey, we want to take a quarterback. Where are we going to go now? And they found themselves a really good option. I really love what Oregon came out with at the quarterback position. They signed one quarterback in this class, Mr. Bryson Beaver, 6'3", 195 pounds from Vista Marietta High School in Marietta, California. And here's the thing with Bryson. When we talk about a whirlwind of a cycle, this young man had a whirlwind of a couple of weeks during the summer. I was able to talk to Bryson about this. I got an exclusive interview on a separate video on my YouTube channel, so make sure you go and check that out for his thoughts. But before that 2 weeks that I'm about to talk about during the summer, I mean, he was a pretty unheralded guy. He was a 3-star prospect, committed to Boise State, didn't have a lot of power conference offers. And then he decommits from Boise State. He reopens his commitment. Oregon is that first big-time offer that he was able to get. You get other SEC offers that kind of pour in after that. He goes out, balls out at the Elite 11. One of the top performers out there at that showcase. His rankings get a big-time boost, and shortly thereafter, he commits to Oregon, and he has been locked in ever since. Man, that's a crazy 2 weeks for a young man to now all of a sudden be getting the attention that he was. But he handled it like an absolute pro. Let me tell you that much. And when I look at Bryson, I see a lot of characteristics from Bo Nix, and it includes maybe that spiky blonde hair a little bit. And it starts with his legs. It starts with his mobility. Very dynamic in what he can do, kind of getting outside the pocket and even maneuvering inside the pocket a little bit as well. He's really able to use that mobility. It's a very much a run-to-throw type of mentality, but he can do some stuff in the design run game, no doubt about it. He can certainly get outside and move the sticks in a first down. He can get into the end zone with his legs as well. So that's really another weapon that Bryson Beaver has in his tool belt, so to speak. And he shows a lot of confidence in what his arm can do, throws a ton of zip on like the short out routes, the medium throws across the middle and all of that. So he can make a lot of those throws. Now, considering you have him and Achilles Smith Jr., I think there's a lot of development that can go on here the next couple of years, and I really like what's in this Oregon quarterback room now with Beaver in there. Mr. Beaver is going to be joined by some dynamic playmakers alongside of him in this 2026 recruiting class. And that's where I want to go right now. Man, it is fun to talk about these offensive skill players that the Ducks are bringing in. Tradarian Ball out of Texas High School, Texarkana, Texas, 5'9", 170 pounds. When I look at his frame, when I look at his skill set, it reminds me a lot. I know this is high praise. It reminds me a lot of what DeAnthony Thomas was able to put on tape before he ended up at Oregon, and especially what he was able to do when he came to Eugene. He can do it all. As a junior, Ball rushed for 777 yards and 11 touchdowns, caught 44 passes, over 1,000 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Now, he maybe doesn't have that amazing, blazing speed like guys that we talked about a little bit earlier. But, I mean, when you're running a 4.48 40, when you're running a 10.5 100 meters, and that's not your fastest guy, one of your fastest guys, you know you're recruiting a whole lot of speed because he has some electricity in the open field. I don't think there's any doubt about that. When you look at the run game specifically, I don't know. When I look at him, I don't necessarily see a guy where in the future he's going to carry the ball 15 times a game, 17 times a game. He's not going to be like a main number one type of running back. The thing about Tradarian is he is the ultimate weapon. That's, I think, his versatility is certainly his biggest strength as a football player. But when he is running the football, great at changing direction and maintaining that speed that we talked about and maintaining that acceleration. When you get into the open field, he is able to break away. Now, Oregon's deep running back room, of course, the freshmen. You got Jordan Davison and De'Aaron Hill. It's going to be tough to break through for anybody coming in. I don't care if they're a freshman. I don't care if they're a transfer. Those two guys are awesome right there. So I actually think Tradarian's main role might not be in the backfield. I think his main role could be really fun out in the slot at wide receiver, even though I think he might be a little bit more refined as a back right now than a slot receiver. But you saw what they did in his high school, in his junior year out there that I mentioned before in some of his stats. They got him the ball, and they got him the ball a lot, and they lined him out, at that position quite a bit as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him kind of develop into that role. I mean, and the thing that Oregon does in this offense, I know they're going to be getting a new coordinator, but, you know, you bring him in the slot, you bring him in motion, and now you can do all sorts of things. You can jet sweep him. All sorts of things in the run game. Same with the, line up in the backfield. You motion him out wide, and now he can become a receiver, and you throw it to him on a screen, and he can be electric in space. That's the thing that makes Tradarian Ball such a special talent in this, potentially in this Oregon system, is his versatility and electricity and so many different things that he can do. Really excited about Tradarian. Let's move on to the perimeter and the wide receiver position. Messiah Hampton. This is Ross Douglas's guy. It has always been Ross Douglas's guy. He was recruiting Messiah Hampton when he was at Syracuse. 6'1", 180 pounds from James Monroe High School in Rochester, New York. The number one player from the Empire State is going to be coming all the way out to the West Coast to Eugene. Now, here's the thing about Messiah. He has risen over the past year. He has continued to rise and rise and rise, and he is more highly thought of in every single update to the Rivals 300, in every single update to the 24/7 rankings, and a lot of people have really noticed what he's been able to do. He's ranked the number 30 overall player according to Rivals specific rankings and the number 5 wide receiver in the country. And when you look at him on film, you can see why. He's a very diverse talent. What I really love about Messiah is his catch and run. Right? You allow him to kind of run a short button hook. You allow him to just get the ball in space. He can make that first guy miss, and then he can accelerate to that second level. He can very easily make a 4-yard completion into a 10 or a 12-yard completion, certainly out there, and extend the play no matter where you get him the football. Runs a good deep route as well. So he's very refined in the route tree. I think another thing with Messiah that and we talked about perimeter blocking earlier in the season, and effort is a big emphasis for Ross Douglas in this offense. The perimeter blocking and just that relentless motor when it comes to paving the way for maybe other receivers or the run game is clearly on tape for Messiah. I think he's got that attitude. I think he's got the mentality that you need to be a dog in this wide receiver room for Oregon. Elsewhere on the perimeter, we've got a 3-star wide receiver from the state of Idaho, 5'9", 170 pounds out of Timberline High School, Mr. Hudson Lewis. Now, this was a very late add to the cycle, decommitted from Utah and committed to Oregon on November 18th. Once he got that Oregon offer, he says, hey, man, this is a dream situation for me. And I think this is a pretty good take for Oregon. Look, I know once you get into that 3-star level, considering that talent that we've been talking about prior to this, you be like, man, it's tough for a guy like this to maybe gain a lot of traction. And yeah, this guy isn't. I don't think Hudson's going to come in maybe his first 2 years and see a whole ton of playing time on the field. It's Oregon. It's tough, but I think it's a very low risk take. And I think Oregon hasn't taken a lot of maybe these shiftier, smaller type of wide receivers coming out of the slot as of late. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage. He's able to kind of get those first couple of steps, whether it's an outside release or whether it's an inside release. But I think he kind of really fits a role. And I think Oregon is maybe trying to get a little bit more into that role. When you look at this class from 10,000 feet in the air, there's a handful of broad takeaways that you can focus in on as significant headlines. One that's really stood out to me through this entire process, what a job Alik Terry has done on the offensive line. Good class in 2025. He's followed it up with a great class in 2026. And it's all about size. It's all about that Big Ten beef on the interior. You saw the transfer portal glass and the mammoth type of frames that they had with Isaiah World, Emmanuel Pregnon, and Alex Harkey. Now they're doing it with even bigger frames on the recruiting trail. To follow up what we talked about earlier with Immanuel Iheanacho, how about the size, the frame, the beef of one Tommy Tofi, 6'6", 340 pounds out of Archbishop Reed in Sacramento, California. Now, he's been an Oregon target for a very long time, for a lot of the length and duration of this cycle, but he did commit to Cal. That was a little bit of a head scratcher, I'm not going to lie, at the time. I believe that was during the spring, but later on during the summer, he decommits from the Golden Bears, of course, committing to the good guys in Oregon and eventually signing on the dotted line. Now, when you look at Tommy on the recruiting services on Rivals and 247, he's listed on both as an interior offensive lineman. You look at his high school tape, he's playing tackle. Kind of what we talked about earlier with Manny. He's got position versatility. I don't believe Manny and Tommy, that's a great combination, by the way. That's a great friendship. I don't think Manny and Tommy are going to be playing the same position at the next level, considering all of the other pieces that exist in this offensive line room right now. I don't think they're both going to be playing tackle. I don't think they're both going to be playing guard. My gut kind of tells me that Manny might trim down a little bit and be that, bookend offensive tackle starting for 2 or 3 years. And my gut also tells me that Tommy might move to the inside at guard, but it wouldn't also surprise me to see him have a pretty good career at tackle. We know Oregon loves to kind of move guys around and guys being able to play multiple positions, not only in the offensive line, but on other position groups as well. When you look at Tommy, he should not move the way he does. I'm going to put it that way. Very agile, very nimble on his feet. Whether he's pulling to kind of get out in front, he's able to get to the spot early to allow to pave the way for the running back. Whether he's getting to that next level quickly, moving with momentum to get to the linebacker, or even if it's in pass protection a little bit, he has really good feet. I'm so excited about what these two bodies up front can really do. I've got some excitement for another former Cal commit that kind of changed his mind near the same time that Tofi did, and that's Koloi Keli, a 3-star player, 6'3", 290 pounds, out of Farrington High School in Honolulu, Hawaii. It's the same high school that produced Iapani Lalaulu, of course, the starting center for Oregon. Center, more on that in just a moment. Now, Koloi is interesting because he's also playing tackle on his high school tape, but he is also listed as an interior offensive lineman. Once again, we talk about position versatility. It is a theme of how Oregon likes to recruit in some of these position groups right now. Fast feet, active hands. Those are things that I really see. Don't really have usable high school footage on him, but there was kind of some vertical stuff that I found on Twitter. But there's upside here. I really believe that. And I think he can carve out a role for himself at center. Center's maybe not one of those positions where you find a ton of guys that are really honed in on that role. Hey, I want to be a starting guard. I want to be a bookend tackle. I want to be this. I want to be that. That's kind of going to get me to a valuable position in the NFL in the future. But, past Poncho, we'll see what the center position looks like. I think Koloi in a couple of years could really develop into that type of guy, and I think he kind of comes in with a pretty good frame already at 290 pounds. He gets into a strength and conditioning program for gets up to 310, 315. He's going to be sitting in a really good spot. There's good upside here, and I think I trust the development of the staff to be able to get him there. He's tenacious as a run blocker once he engaged. Really quick hands. Quick punches, attacking. He's blocking out there like rents do. That's the thing what I see when I get my eyes on Koloi Keli. Let's go to the other side of the line of scrimmage now on defense. And this is somebody that we talked with his high school coach during the spring. And the one thing that Josh Line said about Tony Cumberland was okay, he's quick. He's fast. He's got a really good moveset off the line of scrimmage. Let's see him invest time into the weight room. Let's see him get stronger. Let's see him get more powerful. And you look at Tony Cumberland's senior tape right now, and that's exactly what you're seeing. 6'4", 285, of course, playing at local Willamette High School in Eugene by way of Scottsdale, Arizona. He played his last 2 years of high school football over there at Willamette. He's one of these players in this class. He's made some big jumps in the Rivals 300. He's up to the number 41 overall player in the final rankings. When you talk about position versatility, this is a guy that you could see maybe being a big, powerful guy coming off the edge. A lot of his tape is at the end of the line of scrimmage. Mateo Uyunglele is currently 6'5", 275. So Tony's already got 10 pounds on him as far as that. I'm really intrigued to see how Oregon is going to develop him. Where does he kind of fit best? To me, the edge position, it's very deep. It's very deep. And Nasir Wyatt and Toby Hastrup and Anthony Tank Jones, there's some good players there. But they don't, he's the lone defensive lineman that I think could play the interior in this cycle right now. Like, you could very well see him put on 10, 15 pounds, play to the inside. I mean, Bear Alexander is 6'3", 302 pounds, and he's playing all Big Ten football right now. So if Tony can do that over time, I think he could be a really good fit to the interior of that defensive line. Now, he's not going to be that run stuffer because that's not who he is. That's not the type of game that he is. He's going to be more athletic that can also blend his speed and quickness with his power. I think he's done a really good job from his junior film to his senior film at really meshing those guys together. He's gotten more powerful this offseason. I can't wait to see what he can do to get even more powerful, to get even bigger once he gets to the college level up here. Now, when we talk about power coming off the edge, we talk about power on the defensive line. Prince Tavizon is another example of that. 6'3", 245-pound edge. Lincoln High School, the same place that they got Achilles Smith Jr. from, down there in San Diego, California. Now, he was originally a 27 recruit, reclassified to 2026 when he committed. Now, in 2024, that was his sophomore season. In 13 games, he had 90 tackles, 15 TFLs, 13 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, just like Anthony Tank Jones. Power and motor. He's just tossing guys out of the way. Look, he's not going to beat you with a speed rush. He's not going to get upfield, have great bend, and kind of get to the quarterback. He's going to put both arms into you. He's really strong. I think it's going to be more of a developmental track for him, but we'll see exactly where he goes. Let's finish off on the edge talking about Dutch Horisk from St. John Bosco, 6'2", 240 pounds, of course, Bellflower, California, at that powerhouse school in Southern California. Now, he plays with some really good explosion off the line of scrimmage, some really good juice. That's the thing that really stands out to me right away. He's got that pop. He's got that first step. That thing, boom, check it, love it, got it. Certainly a common theme early in the cycle was this Ducks coaching staff taking big swings at highly rated recruits. We talked about the quarterback position before. Inside linebacker was another example of that. 5-star Tyler Atkinson. Well, he ends up going to Texas. The Ducks had a shot at that one. Nick Abrams in the summertime did not go with the good guys, but Oregon landed 2 4-star inside linebackers in this class. And after further review, I really like the skill sets. Very similar skill sets between these two. And I think that's a good thing. I'm really excited to see how these guys can develop over time. Tristan Phillips, let's begin with him. 6'3", 215 pounds, Ventura High School from Ventura, California. He has been bought in, man. He has been committed as much as anybody in this class. He committed to Oregon nearly a year ago on December 7th, 2025. The thing about Phillips and Braylon Hodge, who we'll talk about in just a second, they combine instincts with athleticism. Really smart linebacker. He can sniff out the football in many different scenarios. And when you talk about his athleticism, when you talk about his explosiveness, it translates into pass coverage as well. He's able to kind of get to the spot of where he needs to be and able to break on the football pretty effectively with that athleticism. You know, when you have that basketball background, when you have a multi-sport background, it can help you in a variety of ways. And you see it certainly help Tristan Phillips. Man, he loves the collision. He loves the collision. He loves to take on blocks. He plays above his weight at 215. So if he can come into Eugene, get up to 220, get up to 225, okay, now he's already playing above that 215 level. Now you pack on the pounds and the muscle to him. That's going to make him an even better linebacker. That's going to make him an even bigger force, I think, in the middle out there. Dan Lanning, in his signing day press conference, compared him to Bryce Betcher. And you watch the film, both are relentless against the run. They got the high motor. A lot of these kids in this class have a high motor. It's certainly something I think that this Oregon coaching staff looks for at multiple positions. It keeps on running, finding plays from the backside and many other different circumstances where he just continuously finds his way to the football. Sign me up for some Tristan Phillips. Also, sign me up from a man, Braylon Hodge, 6'3", 212 pounds, Cherry Creek High School in Englewood, Colorado. He was originally committed to Michigan State, but once Oregon and kind of other bigger schools lined up and offered him, he's like, okay, I got to open up this recruitment a little bit. But it didn't take him very long to decide on the Oregon Ducks, and there may be a connection that maybe expedited that process. He went to the same high school as one Blake Purchase. I talked to Braylon about this in a separate interview that's up on the YouTube channel. You can go check that out, about the connection between Blake and himself. He is very much a late bloomer. I mean, 2024 was his first year as a starter out there. He's the top player in the state of Colorado. Really intelligent player. Reads plays extremely well. Like, there's some time on film where you're thinking, like, is this like a Connor Stallion situation where he knows the play? He knows which direction it's going? Like, that's the vibe it kind of gives off of. Very good change of direction. Okay, if he's kind of running to the right, he's flowing to the right, and they bend back on a counter, he can put his foot in the ground and read it really well, come back to the left, and be able to make the plays. He's got very honest eyes, and his eyes direct him to the football really good. Once again, we're combining athleticism with intelligence. Remember signing day last year? Remember the haul that Chris Hampton brought in the defensive backfield? Naeem Offord, Trey McNutt, Brandon Finney, Dorian Brew. Yeah, I think he followed up 2025 when he was 24/7 Sports Recruiter of the Year. Yeah, he did pretty well in 2026 as well, and confirmed his status as one of the elite recruiters in all of college football. We talked about Jett Washington before. 6 total defensive backs signed in this class. Let's dive into the other 5. And I want to begin with a guy I'm really excited about to land in Eugene. That is Davon Benjamin, 5'11", 170 pounds, out of Oaks Christian in Corona, California. Now, here's the thing about Davon. 24/7 Sports has him listed as a safety, the number 5 overall safety in the country, BT Dubs. Rivals has him listed as a corner, the number 8 corner in the country. And here's that phrase again, ladies and gentlemen: position versatility. No player in this defensive backfield may have more position versatility than Mr. Benjamin coming out of Southern California. He can play any position in the secondary. He can play outside. He can play a safety position. He can play inside. More on that in just a moment. In 2024, how about 6 interceptions, 3 pick sixes, a 10-7-8, 100-yard dash. When I look at Davon, his biggest strengths are, ball hawking and creating plays and creating turnovers. His range is all over the football field. And it's in many different ways. I mean, you look at him playing safety, his range to be able to cover boundary to boundary, and then be able to come up and play the run as well. Like, his acceleration, getting towards the line of scrimmage, getting to the perimeter and bringing players down is ultra impressive. He's very tenacious when it comes to defending the run and tackling near the line of scrimmage. His breaking on the ball it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. Like, he can wait and wait and wait, and he can hang back there and bam, he can break at the last second to come up with a play, to come up with an interception. He's a guy that can create turnovers in a big amount at the next level. He also plays on the offensive side of the ball. So you got to think it helps the knowledge that he's playing with on defense when he understands the route concepts that he's doing on offense. The return game is something that can really work with him as well. Lots of explosiveness kind of coming off. I think he works best in the middle of the field. I think he works best when he can really display that range instead of maybe being on the outside. I think he could. I think he's a contender to be the next generation at the star position. Another player that I really like at the star position for the future is my main man, Xavier Lherisse. 5'10", 195 pounds, out of O'Galley High School in Melbourne, Florida. Remember when I said earlier, Tradarian Ball can do it all? Okay, let's take it to another level in terms of doing it all, because Xavier Lherisse literally can do anything on a football field. He's played quarterback. He's run the ball. He's caught the ball. He's tackled. He's played coverage. He's forced turnovers. He's done everything a human being can do on a football field. How about over 3,700 all-purpose yards during the last 2 years where he played offense over there at O'Galley? 47 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, over 1,300 yards passing, over 1,400 yards rushing, over 900 yards receiving, 26 interceptions in his high school career, 4 pick sixes, 2 punt return touchdowns, 3 kick return touchdowns, 155 tackles, and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, it's ridiculous. You talk about position versatility. I mean, this is just taking it to outer space. It really is. And like when I watch Xavier play, it's very clear that he has a high football IQ. And when you play quarterback, running back, receiver, defense, right? When you do all of those things, you kind of understand a lot of facets of football. Like from a quarterback standpoint, you know where you're going with the ball in a certain situation. From a wide receiver standpoint, right? You know where you're breaking on a certain route. And as a defensive back, you know when you can kind of cut off that route and you can make a play. As a runner, you know like, hey, I got to get to this point to read this block to get to the edge. In the defender in that situation, I know where I have to get to before somebody else certainly gets to that point. He knows all of the angles on a football field right now. He can anticipate what's going on the football field. Those are things that I really see when it comes to Xavier. I'm excited for both of these guys in this defense. I'm also excited for, more of a true safety, and that being Devin Jackson. 6'2", 195 pounds, out of the First Academy over there in Winter Garden, Florida. A consensus four-star guy. Big Rivals riser. Up to the number 54 overall player in the final Rivals 300 rankings. And the number 3 safety. Rivals actually had him ranked higher than Jett Washington. Not sure if I would agree with that, but hey, let's leave it to the experts in this instance. There was a late push by Nebraska, but it didn't end up well for the Huskers. In 2024, 80 tackles, 7 PBUs, and 2 interceptions in 10 games. I really like his timing to kind of be able to match up with a high point of the route. I really like his anticipation. This is another player out there that can kind of anticipate what's going on. He's able to kind of see things from center field, and he's got a great knowledge of the football. Of the game of football, It's very clear Chris Hampton likes to recruit some of these high IQ type of players out there. Just really like fundamentally sound. When we take a look at like Davon Benjamin, wow, breaking on a route. Look at Jett Washington getting shot out of a cannon and making a play. Like Devin Jackson is just like, he's in the right spot at the right time. He's doing the right thing. He's exactly what a safety needs to be able to be. If you want to play defense in our scheme, you got to be able to come up and you got to be able to stop the run. I mean, look at what the safeties are doing. Look at what Aaron Flowers and Dylan Thieneman have been on this year's team. Those are guys, you got to be thumpers. You got to be physical. And there's physical safeties in this class. Devin Jackson is one of those. Let's talk about a couple of guys that are certainly going to be unheralded, I think, when looking at this class right now. But we're signing day additions. Let's start first with Azel Banag. Hope I pronounced that right. 6 foot 177 out of AC Florida, Columbia, South Carolina. Now, you want the definition of a late bloomer? How about he was committed to Harvard before this last season? These are the kind of chances with a guy like this, and I'll kind of explain that in just a minute, where it's like these are low risk for Oregon. You can kind of swoop in, and when you've got some of these lower schools, and all of a sudden a kid, you kind of see flashes on tape a little bit of what he can do, and be like, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's throw it out there. We're gonna be the biggest offer on the table. We're probably going to get accepted, and let's see if this can happen. And I think there's been a couple of instances of that in this class. I mean, he's one of the fastest guys in this class, 4.38 40-yard dash, a sub-4 shuttle drill as well. from the corner spot, fantastic acceleration in defending the run game. Also got that recovery that you might look out for him. And once again, this is another guy. I don't think I'd predict him as an outside corner. I think he's, once again, another guy that maybe has a skill set, a diverse skill set that can play inside at the star position. All right, we are going to finish out this marathon of a show with Trevon Watson, who's not a high school football player. He is a JUCO transfer. You kind of mesh the JUCO guys in with the high school guys. 5'11", 185 from the College of San Mateo, Antelope, California. That has been fruitful for Oregon over the years. It's the same JUCO as Sione Lalea over there. I'm really impressed when I look at him playing with his hands and physicality in coverage on the outside. I think maybe Dan and this defensive staff is like, we need like one guy in this class that can play at this outside corner. And I think like Trevon Watson is maybe that outside corner guy in this class. I talked about, playing physical in press coverage, plays really well. Turn and run ability is there. So if he's jamming a little bit and the receiver gets around him, he does have the speed to kind of recover over the top. All right, let's take a deep breath. Those are some talented football players. I can't wait to see these guys get in there in the winter, kind of hear how they're doing, get into spring ball and see how they're developing. But hey, whoa, we got a lot to accomplish before we get to that point. But folks, we are now back on the Oregon recruiting trail. We have begun the 2027 version of the Oregon recruiting trail. Oregon City, a long ways away. But here's the hoping the trip is as successful as it was in 2026. If there's one thing that's guaranteed, folks, there's going to be some bumps on the road. But we are going to get through them together. All right, until next time. I'm Ted LaRue. This has been That Show Out West.